Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we will talk about it in a second. But you have an amazing career. I mean, that's from founder to over sales and then marketing lead to CEO and working with companies that are like super huge, and that's amazing. So I want to get some of your secret sauce into our podcast.
It's just Sisu. You know this Finnish word Sisu,
No.
Sisu. It sort of means tenacity, not giving up, just pushing, 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 and trying until it works. And when you have that Sisu, you can be stupid, you can be slow, you can be anything, because you just never give up and you learn at every step. And then soon the others will have given up, but you haven't. That's my secret of success.
That's very interesting because there was a startup fair recently. It's called Bits and Pretzels. It's one of the bigger ones in Europe.
Okay.
And they had, I'm a triathlete, and I like Jan Frodeno. He's one of the top triathletes worldwide. And they interviewed him, and he said exactly the same. The difference between a world champion and someone who's not a world champion is never giving up. And each day, he says, like even now, each day after training, he thinks, okay, what could I've done better? What can I do better next time?
Yeah. And you just have to do a little bit. You don't have to do much, just a little bit better, but you have to do it every day.
That's it.
Yeah. And you know, in the gaming industry, there are these brothers from Iceland, the Helgason brothers.
I don't know them.
One started Unity. And he said, one of the Helgason said that his father always told him, son, aim for the top. There's less competition there. And it's so true. There's a lot of competition in the middle. Like there's a lot of people who are in the middle and are competing with each other and sort of become very envious of each other, and it's difficult and hard to compete. But if you really aim for the top, then there actually isn't that much competition, because so few people have the energy and persistence to try to go to the top.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's a long road. And
yes.
I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years now, and I started a company, I had to shut it down again. So I did all the painful stuff too once. Now we found, I think, a pretty good product market fit with our company, and it's fun. But then you have different kinds of problems. It seems like either you're going too slow or you're going too fast. Now we are kind of like, now you have to find enough good people, you have to hire them, you have to train them. So there's always something that is keeping you really busy. But that's the interesting part, yeah.
Well, my observation is that startups nearly always start too early and move too slow. It's better to start later and move faster.
That's a good one,
it's counterintuitive, because as startup creators and innovators, we'd like to get going immediately. We think the time is now and we lose the opportunity if we don't act. But usually we don't have to start immediately, but once we start, we must go forcefully, like really invest in growth and building quickly.
Yeah, and finding, and that's totally off the topic of our podcast, but that's something that I thought a lot about, and we are bootstrapped up to now for this reason, that we wanted to have the time to find the product market fit. Because if you take on especially growth money too fast, you can fail a potentially good idea, because they force you to grow without you having a fit in the end, and then you burn everything.
Very true. I completely agree, and I've done it. I've done it in my career.
yeah, me too. So I never want to do it again. So can we maybe start with, I sent you 3 questions that would be really interesting if I get like a high level overview on your thoughts, because then I also know how to structure our podcast. And I already started recording, just so that you know, because I think there are already some useful insights in the beginning. Yeah.
I forget what the questions were.
I will ask them to you now, so don't worry.
Okay.
Don't worry. So the first question is...
what's a commonly held belief?
Yeah, what's a commonly held belief with regards to sales and marketing, because this is what our podcast is about, that you passionately disagree with?
Yeah, I think I prepared something. Let me see what I wrote. There is some people say that when you enter into a new market or a new geography or new place, many say we need to start with marketing to build the market and only then do sales. And I disagree. Sure, marketing logically comes before sales, but if you're opening a new market, you need to go in and close deals first. That's how you test whether there's a product market fit. And if the first salesperson can close deals without any marketing help, then you can hire marketing people. But if you start with marketing people, they will sort of spin their wheels and it won't be the real stuff because there's no salesperson giving them the really hard feedback. So
that's amazing. Yeah. I think let's do the following way. We just go with the flow because we can cut it in the end so that it's nice.
Yeah, but that's fine. Fine with me.
I absolutely agree with you on this one. And because I see it in our small startup. So we test different markets now because it worked in the DACH region, so Germany, Austria, Switzerland.
Right.
And now we have a little test running in Spain and it already looks good. And we have a first test running in the United States. And we noticed that the states are different.
Yes.
And so we are still not ready in the States to scale anything up. But we learn constantly and we get better and better each day. And at some point, I'm pretty sure we crack the code and then we go for it.
Yeah. And of course, it's a much bigger market to go to the US.
That's the one you have to go after, I think, for most companies at least.
Yeah.
So when you grow HackerOne, I mean, you're already in a lot of countries now, but you're there for a longer time. Can you give a hands-on example on how you entered a geography or market with this tactic and what you learned?
Well, we did it. Well, actually, in Germany, we did it differently because we had, like, I know some people, I know some journalists who wrote about us in Wirtschaftswoche long before we had a sales rep in Germany. So we did build a little bit of reputation so that once we hired our first sales rep, we already had a few customers. We also closed a deal with Lufthansa long before we had a sales rep in Germany. So it was a little bit different there. But then in France, we started by just hiring a sales rep and just saying, go out and find some deals, close some deals, just build a business and to show us what's possible. And now we do PR there and we have, I guess we have some material, marketing material in the French language and we have French customers. So those are examples. But we have, with our business model at HackerOne, we have the benefit of selling to a progressive audience that is global by nature. So whether they are in France or Germany or Austria, we have customers in Austria, they belong to the pioneers of the pioneers. For them, buying from a US vendor is commonplace. They don't worry. They don't demand that the contract text is in the local language or anything. So we have sort of an advantage there as we start.
Lucky you, I must say. That is a good advantage to talk to early adopters by nature.
It is, but of course, early adopters are very few. So it's never enough. Like there's a risk that you are just a cool vendor with the cool customers, but that's never a sufficiently large market. You have to target the mainstream at some point. So, but you build up your presence and your ability to act and your reference base. And when customers say, who can I talk to? We always have a customer who acts as a reference for us. And we have that in all European countries, I would say.
Great. What kind of attributes do you look for this very first hire? So what, for example, to keep it really pragmatic, how did you find the very first French sales guy?
I didn't do the hire myself, so I don't know. I don't know, but we use many. First, we say, does anybody know anybody? Does anybody know anybody who knows anybody? Okay. Can we ask somebody? That's why I asked you. I said, can you recommend good sales reps in Germany for when we need them? But then typically now we use recruiters because it's a very productive way, and they present candidates, and we look for, when you hire the first salespeople, they must be very capable. They have to be able to do a little bit of marketing, a little bit of administration. They need to understand the product. They have to be a little bit of sales engineer in their mind because they will not have the support in the beginning. So they are in a way jacks of all trade, but they also create this very strong relationship with a customer, because the customer sees that this one person can serve them with everything they need. Later, when when you're buying something, there's one who's selling to you, one who's doing the services, one who's doing the marketing, like one who's doing the invoicing, and it gets messy. But the first salespeople are, in a way, entrepreneurs on their own. Yeah. They have a network. They always know a way in. They call their cousin's friend or something, and they find and get an invitation to an event or something. So they're very resourceful.
That really sounds like an entrepreneur you have to find for this position. Yes, definitely.
The first one, yes. And yeah, I remember from my previous career at MySQL, there were several countries where we hired somebody who was not from the country. So in France at MySQL, we had an Englishman to do the first sales.
And that worked?
It works. It's weird, it's counterintuitive, but somebody who's moved into your country is very committed. They don't assume anything. They know they are the underdog because they are not from the country. But also customers look at them and say, okay, why is this person here? Like they get attracted by the courage and grit of that person. And of course, they always learn the local language. So it's as easy to deal with them as others. But they have this, I know it, I've moved to another country. You start working much harder because you feel you have to show how good you are. Mm-hmm. But if you are in your own country, well, maybe you stop working earlier and it's Feierabend and let's go out for a beer. But not if you're an immigrant, you will work harder.
Yeah, I absolutely get it because, I mean, my mother is an immigrant. She came from North Africa, Tunisia. And you kind of, I mean, she has this fighting spirit.
Yes.
And you have to have it because you have to fight for everything. You have to fight for your first workplace. First, learn the language, then for the first workplace, then to keep the workplace, and and all this stuff.
And then you face a lot of resistance because people have all kinds of false beliefs, and there could be racism at place. There could be all kinds of arrogance and protectionism. So you have to be prepared for being treated worse than others. So that's why you have to be tougher and work harder. But that actually makes you stronger. Mm-hmm. And in the end, you win because you learn that nothing comes for free. Everything has to be earned. You have to prove things not once, but 2 times or 3 times before you really get it. So it makes, like, people who move to another country become wonderful people for that reason. Not all, but many.
Yeah, agree, absolutely. And that's already a really good tip for myself also, because we are looking at for example, entering UK and the Nordics to test the market. And as we are a small resourceful company that is bootstrapped up to now, we don't have a lot of money to hire someone from the get-go.
Yeah.
But our idea is to find an MBA student, for example, who's studying in that country, who might be from another country,
right?
But who's willing to maybe join full-time after he's finished, so we can test part-time, so to say, use someone who's smart, and then if it works, we can expand.
Yeah, I can give you an example. At HackerOne, our sales into Finland and Sweden, Norway and Denmark is handled by a French guy who lives in London. And of course, what would a French person do in Finland selling? But they sort of love it. They love the fact that somebody from France takes interest in their matters. So he's actually doing well. And they like the fact that they get to show their culture and sort of interact with him. So and I told him when he took the job, I said, Marten, this could be, you may be better than anybody else, exactly because you're a little bit exotic. Not much, but enough to give that little extra. And he's very good has learned how to understand Scandinavian communication styles, which of course is much different than French. But once you learn this, then you can be so powerful. Mm-hmm. And it has to do with, I always go back to quoting the Danish author Karen Blixen. She moved to Africa in the 19th century and got married there and lived on a farm and sort of lived there. And she said that if you know one culture, you know no culture. Mm-hmm. you have to see 2 different cultures to even understand your own. And once you see 2 or more cultures, then you can understand culture and understand how people interact and what's important to them, and what it means when certain groups of people behave in a certain way. There's also always a meaning behind it. And if you just live in your own country, you're like a fish in the water. You don't know that there's water around you because you never have experienced anything else.
Yes. Yeah, I absolutely understand what you mean. In a sense, I knew it a little bit because I grew up in 2 countries, so to say. But yeah, what really opened up my mind, I studied an MBA in Madrid, and there you're like with 60, 70 other like nations.
Oh, were you at IE?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fantastic school.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I also saw that you're connected on LinkedIn with Enrique Danz.
Yeah.
He was one of the best professors I had.
Right.
He was really good.
Yeah, I met him once, and I wrote some text for them once, a blog post about leadership or something.
Yeah, he is one of the reasons why I'm an entrepreneur.
Oh.
Yeah, because he brought entrepreneurs in the class and they talked about their experience, and this was the most valuable class of all. I mean, you learn all this basic stuff you learn in an MBA, but the best is talking to someone like you and seeing that the way is not like, boom, you're a billionaire, but it's like this, and almost sometimes you don't make it, but somehow you make it anyways, and then you succeed, and that's a normal. So that was really good, this lesson alone.
Yeah, we always say that it takes many, many years to build an overnight success.
Absolutely true. But to come back to the questions,
yes,
we had the first question already covered.
Yeah.
So the next one is, what should everyone stop doing in B2B sales and or marketing, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about it and I wasn't sure I have an answer, but I thought, okay, I have an answer. So I wrote down, stop focusing on deal size. Just close deals and make customers happy. The rest will take care of itself. And of course, somebody in the company has to think about deal size and how to price and all of that. But often you have a sales team who thinks, oh, to reach the goal, we have to increase the price. And it is sort of a false way of doing it because you're not solving your real problem, which is ability to attract customers and sell them and make them happy. So although deal size can be very good for your economy of the business, the practice of attracting customers, closing deals with them and making them successful with your product, that's what drives the business. And then you will be able to increase deal size at some point. Mm-hmm. So I don't focus much on deal size. I focus on making sure that the value prop works in reality so that you can just sell a lot of deals. Mm-hmm. And if people say, but Martin, if we sell at this low price, we can never increase price. Then I say, it's not true. You can always increase price. And if you can't increase price of your product, you develop a separate product that you sell as an add-on. And you have enough R&D power to do that. And sometimes also your existing customers are so few that even if they never start paying the new price, if the new ones do so, that's also good. Like your current install base for a startup is always much smaller than your future install base. So that's a principle I follow. But of course, I'm happy when we close big deals. And when somebody closed a giant deal like we did at HackerOne the other day, we were all jumping up and down and clapping our hands and loving it. So yeah, we do love it, but we don't let the deal size be the driving thing.
How do you communicate this successful deal within your company? Because it's a big company now. You have 1,800 or more employees, at least on LinkedIn, I saw it.
Well, you can't trust LinkedIn because there are a lot of hackers who say they work for HackerOne. So we have 300 people, but we're still pretty sizable. We do a lot of our communication through Slack. So we have Slack channels. We have one called HackerOne Wins, and we have a high five channel where we give high fives to each other. We thank each other. And we have weekly company meetings where we thank each other. So we do a lot of, like there we are very Californian. All the time we have to celebrate victory, thank somebody, give kudos, give high fives. It's not like the very like sort of humble, subdued way of Germany and Scandinavia, where we say you should never praise yourself, you should never praise anybody else, don't praise somebody, they may get arrogant. That's of course completely wrong, but we grew up being taught by our parents and grandparents that it's not proper to celebrate victory too much, that it's not proper. But in tech business, it is proper, and you need to do that all the time. Just celebrate, celebrate, celebrate.
I think in any business this is good.
I think so, yeah. But I'm specifically talking startup. But you're right.
Yeah,
and we shouldn't. I also think that if we celebrate a lot, then the stigma goes away, and it doesn't make anybody arrogant, because we know, like, we do these high fives on the high five channel. There are probably 50 people every day who get them. So you are happy when you get it, but you also know that you're not unique and special. It's just a way of reminding of how fortunate we actually are.
It's a great way.
To be in a tech company, to be in a startup, to live in a country with a stable democracy and a stable economy. Those are luxuries that most people on this planet do not have.
Yeah, absolutely. Gratefulness is a good way to live your life. Each morning thinking, or evening at least, once a day, thinking about all the good things that you have.
Yeah. Gratefulness and curiosity.
Yes.
That's about all you need. A little bit and compassion, but if you're grateful, you have compassion already.
Great. I want to come back to your answer, because one thing or two things I heard out of it. One thing is that you don't care that much about deal size. So if I would translate it, you care more about building the go-to-market machine. So it's more important that for example, I think of businesses as a system with people, but the system has to be trained and built the right way, and you only can train if you have deals in this case. So if you only focus on the big shot and this takes too long, your system doesn't learn, and then you probably won't get better fast enough.
Exactly. And you may learn the wrong things. Like you may have a whale, a very big customer who has different requirements than the smaller ones.
Yes.
And so specifically in the tech business, that's another thing our parents and grandparents taught us incorrectly. They always said, son or daughter, it is quality, not quantity, that matters. But in the digital world, quantity produces quality. Quantity results in quality. So some things you just have to do so many things, so many times, or have so many of, that in the aggregate, you create a qualitative experience. So it's counterintuitive, but there you actually just sometimes have to bring in as many customers as you can, and the result will be of higher quality than if you pick just a few.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. Like translating it to our, like, we are a really small company, but we are fast learners. Why? Because we have, each one of us in our core team has calls with potential customers each week. And we talk about these calls each week, once a week for 1 hour, and we improve our deck and how we approach potential questions. And now it's like everybody can close. We have 22, 23-year-olds who can close deals with partners of companies who are over 50, of sizable companies, and they even like up to the contract. I don't even do anything anymore. So even in this small environment where we are in, I can absolutely agree with what you're saying. If you put them out there, if you're out there, you learn so fast. The first 2-3 calls are really bad, then you get a little bit better and better and better. And at some point, it's like you can do it when you wake up middle of the night, someone says you have a call, and boom, you just nail it. Yeah, exactly.
And so important to start with a bad experience. There's nothing that develops your ambition as much as having a really bad experience with a customer, because you're so ashamed. The shame will drive you to perfection. Like having like we say, a chip on your shoulder and imposter syndrome, all of that, those are good, because you're always thinking, okay, I'm not good enough, I need to improve. And then at some point you are so good that you can close deals all the time.
Oh, and a side note, I don't know what your take on this one is, but what I noticed is that our ladies in our team are really good in sales, because they don't have this chip at all. They are more like, how can I help? So having this attitude of, what does my potential customer need? How can I find it out? And they do it in a way that is not pushy at all.
Yeah. Sometimes when I sell and when I instruct people who sell, I tell them, and I do it with myself, I say to myself, I'm actually a representative of the customer. I belong to the customer, and my job is to extract the right product from the startup for the customer. That's my job. Then as a result, I take some money in return, but my job is to be the representative of the customer and do what's best for them. Find the best product, the best service, make sure the best service is given. And when you think that way, you actually start delivering value, because you are thinking, oh, I'm working for the customer. I must make the customer successful. And then it's another thing that you can take a lot of money out of their pocket, because that's your job. But your mindset is about serving the customer, not serving the one who's actually paying your salary.
Absolutely. And I mean, taking a lot of money out of the pocket is giving also more value than it costs. So in the end, it's really something where you help people. And of course, you need money for producing the value that you create for them. But before I started like being more in the sales area, you kind of have the notion of this shady salesperson. So someone who like wants to talk you into deals, and you don't need even, like, for example, you don't need this car, but it's really shiny and you need it now. And you know, but in the end, what you say is a great attitude, and this opens the door to other kind of sales people who are more compassionate and who don't push you, but who rather go the route that you said, ask the right questions, and then find out what you need. And then if you can help, you help. If you cannot help now, maybe you have a feature that you have to build so that you can help someone in the future. How do you get this? Because now you're a bigger company. When you're really small, so for example, I'm still selling, and I know what people need and we know what to build. But once you are a little bit more removed from the field, how do you get feedback directly from your potential customers so that you know you have the pulse of the market and you know what you have to build or what you have to develop?
It is very hard, because you have to actively seek out the information. And I try to listen internally very attentively, like when salespeople report on why they won or why they lost. I read the report, I look at it and say, oh, what was going on there? Why did they do this? And then I have enough of customers I talk to that I can just ask them. And as a CEO, you have freedoms that others don't have. Like when I speak to a customer, I can just say, did you feel that we were too expensive? And they will give you the honest answer. They won't mess around with the CEO. If you're a sales rep and say, is this too expensive? Everybody will say, yeah, it's too expensive, because they're negotiating. But they know they're not negotiating with me, so I can ask anything. I can say, do you think our product is excellent? They say, Martin, your product is amazing. You charge too little for it. And I say, okay, thank you. But because there's sort of a trust relationship, and sometimes those customers we don't charge a lot from, we continue to sell at a higher price to others. So therefore, as CEO, I can get the information, but I have to be very active. I have to seek it out every day. And sometimes I realize my data is outdated. I talk to our sales rep and say, yes, this is very important. And then said, well, actually, Martin, it was important 6 months ago, but it's not anymore. And I have to adjust. So, yeah.
That is super valuable. So no matter the size of your company, it's still good to have your pulse at the market and talk to customers. Yeah.
Yeah, I would look at, for instance, Okta, the cybersecurity company, OKTA. They went public maybe a year ago. They had, was it Okta? No, it was Okta, or then it was CrowdStrike, one of the two. I forget which one. Also a cybersecurity company that went public. When they went public, they said on the day of going public, they say, in the next 100 days, the CEO will visit 100 customers. And it was such an impressive thing to say and do. Like, you think he would have be so busy with having gone public and organizing things. And no, I will meet with 100 customers in 100 days to stay in touch with customers. And then when everybody knows about it, even those customers he didn't visit are of course happy, because they know that the CEO is customer focused. Mm-hmm. So you can do things like this to strengthen your presence in the market.
Thanks a lot. Hands-on tips. That's really helpful.
Yeah. Well, the whole idea here is that your company will now do much better, and everybody who's listening to the podcast, That is what I want in return. I'm
Yes.
very happy to share my thoughts, and if they make sense, I want to see people grow their businesses and become millionaires and billionaires and whatever they are hoping to be.
Yeah. No, and I mean, you already provided a lot of value. I can tell you from my side, I already learned a lot. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there, if they actively listen, they can take a lot out of it.
There's so much wisdom on the internet today that many people do MBAs, and an MBA can be useful, but the technical information is available for free in all the podcasts, all the blog texts that are out there. Like, so many really smart people, like people much smarter than I, are sharing freely. And if you would just read and follow everything they ever said, you would know more than you can learn at any university.
Absolutely
I don't know why
agree.
people don't know this. That, like, when people say, "Oh, why don't I know everything? Why am I not so good?" And I'm trying to tell them that everything is on freely available in the internet. You don't have to pay anything. You just have to Google and be smart and find it. But that's it. And you can learn from all the mistakes already that have been made by others.
That's why I love podcasts. And
Yeah.
that's why I found out about you. I listened to the SaaStr podcast. So thanks a lot
Right.
for
Yes.
them
Yes.
inviting you. But it was really insightful what you basically said there. And that was the reason why I basically wrote a little post about it on LinkedIn, and you interacted with it. And that's how it came to you being here. But I absolutely agree. For example, I'm not a sales, or I was not a sales expert. I get better at this, and we basically help other companies sell more.
Yeah.
So I have to be good at it because we help other companies do it. But how did I get better? I listened to a lot of podcasts of salespeople, basically, or also SaaStr, of people who lead organizations where sales and marketing is a part of it, of course.
Yeah.
And you get really good at it at some point. You just have to listen. And the good thing is you can try it out and you see if it works for you.
Yeah. And you have to try it out, of course. You have to internalize it and make it active, because it's possible to just listen and listen and listen and never get better. But if you have this burning desire, it's sort of back to this tenacity, perseverance, the Sisu, the Finnish word of just not giving up, just keeping going until it succeeds.
There I want to take a little side road, and I want to ask you because my feeling is, if you have, it's like a sports team somehow, a company.
Yes.
You have a common culture that is there to build, and then you have to find the right players. And in my experience, for example, people who were really ambitious when they're young, and it can be any kind of ambition. They can be great in chess or some kinds of sports or whatever, someone who has shown this tenacity. They seem to be the people that are inherently like this. But what do you look for when you generally hire people, like in the sort of mindset, not in the sort of what they have to know to be able to start?
Well, I do look very much, the first thing I look at is actually integrity. Like, are they intellectually honest? Can they see themselves as what they are, as with the weaknesses and strengths? Are they honest and truthful? Like, those things matter to me more than anything else. But the next after that is then, are they in charge of their lives? Like, do they believe in free will? And if you believe in free will, you have to be driving, pushing, trying, learning, experimenting, delivering results, taking responsibility. Everything opens up when you say, I have free will, I have the agency in me. I mean, I own myself, I'm in charge of myself, and I can, with my decisions and acts, I can create positive outcomes. If they have that mechanism strongly, then it's amazing. But many people are lazy about it. They say, yeah, I believe in free will, but, and then they don't act on it. And I think if you agree on that you have free will, then go and use it. Like, play. Like, you have to play the ball. Somebody is passing you the ball. You have to play the ball. And so I look at that, whether they have it, whether they take the opportunity. Mm-hmm. Like in a job interview, will they take over control over the job interview? That's, to me, very good. When they start saying, okay, let me ask you some questions. What if I do this? Is that what you want? What do you want to see after 1 year? What if I did this? Is that useful? Like, you see how they're already thinking of how to do the job. And they're not sitting there saying, yes, I am a very good thing and I have a master's degree in that. And I, like, most people when they look for a job are just talking about themselves.
And what is my bonus?
Yeah, and I can reveal the secret. We're not interested in you. When we recruit people, we're interested in whether you can do the job. We're not really interested in you. Sure, we have to study you to know whether you can do the job, but when you are a hiring manager, you look for able people who can deliver results. So yes, so I look at that, and then I also spend time understanding what kind of personality it is, because I believe that building a team, like you said, it's just like a sports team. You need different players. You need defense, offense. You need the strong ones, the fast ones, the smart ones. You need those who communicate, those who are nice to each other, those who are in lone wolves and go out and do the sort of solitary things somewhere. You need many different types of personalities. So I try to blend them so that they are not all just copies of the same role or the same personality.
I absolutely agree with this one, in a sense that we work with personality types when we help our customers. So we analyze the personality based on the LinkedIn profile. I can tell you what your personality likely is. We think at least that you are a vet type of person, like someone who gathers information quickly and then directly takes a decision. And you don't need to basically, so the other side would be a non-numbers driven person. So someone who's more like the emotional kind. You need more references. You don't care about numbers that much. And did we hit that one correctly? You're more the driven numbers person who can take action pretty quickly, or are you more on the...
Well, I am actually a slow decision maker.
Okay.
I am very quick in my actions, but if I have to make an important decision, I'm often slower than other CEOs. So it's not my full strength. I know I admire the CEOs who can arrive at the decision faster than I can. But when I do consume a lot of information. I read, I look at numbers, I may do scenarios. So I do a lot of that. But then I'm not fully numbers driven. Like, I let the numbers serve me, but I'm not trying to just please the numbers. I try to think deeper and beyond the numbers. Like, what is the true meaning of this? And maybe what looks expensive is actually not expensive, or what looks like small will be large. Like, sometimes the world is not what it looks like. You often have to say, no, okay, this is what it looks like, but the reality is the opposite. And you have to learn to see when the reality is the opposite to what everybody's saying. Like, everybody might say, oh, this company is so wonderful, they're so wonderful, so wonderful. And I always think, because I'm a little bit of a contrarian, I think, is that true? Or is it like mass psychosis and they are all hypnotized to think so, and actually in reality it's the opposite? And often it is. And you, as an entrepreneur, you have to have the courage to choose your own path, and the path may be different from everybody else.
Absolutely agree.
Everybody's saying that startups need to be in Munich or Berlin, and then say, no, I will do my startup in Hamburg. And people say, you're stupid. But for some, it is the exactly right place, and you must have the courage to follow your own instincts and logic because you have more information about your case than anybody else. Nobody else can know for you.
Yes, agree. So to finish this personality type discussion, I think at least we were in the right direction of you wanting to have enough data to digest and then take some time to basically take a decision. So you may be more a blue type in a sense in the DISC model, but that doesn't matter. What I wanted to say is that my CTO is, for example, not a numbers person. He's super structured. But his dominant type is basically a people's person. And then he takes a lot of time to also digest information. And then he's a slow thinker, so to say. There's a book, I forgot the name.
Kahneman, Thinking Slow, Thinking Fast.
Exactly.
One of the best books in the last 10 years. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it is so deeply written. You have to read it slowly. You can't read it quickly because every sentence is full of wisdom, and you can't, if you miss one word, you're lost. Like, you have to be very, very focused on it when you read it. It's an intense reading experience, but it was so good. I loved it.
I have it on my shelf and I still have to read it to be
it's hard.
honest.
It is really, it's not like something you read when you're tired. You don't read it for amusement. You have to be very alert when you read it because there are so many deep thoughts in it. But I loved the book.
So my CTO read it and he said, Sammy, you're the fast thinker and I'm the slow thinker. And sometimes we clash because of this. But I think the mixture is good. And that's what coming back to what you said originally, I like the idea of having people having different personalities, because then they automatically wear different hats. And when you are able to communicate with each other, you usually find better solutions or even tackle better problems, so to say.
Yeah. I have learned in many cases where I'm a slow decision maker and they say, Martin, what's the decision? And if I say, I don't know, what do you think? They actually have the answer for me. And they had it all along. They just respected my authority so much that they turned to me to get the decision, but actually they had it. So I've learned over the years to delegate more, because those who work for me may be faster decision makers than I am, and they have a more acute understanding of the situation. So then I realized, okay, not all I have to do, but one thing I have to do is delegate it to them and ask them to make the decision. And sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it's not fully coherent, but we make more decisions and things move fast. Compared to if I would do my deep thinking about every question, which I tend to do. I really want to go deep, and I say, let's not make the decision until we've considered all scenarios. That's a pretty stupid thing to do, but I am a little bit like that.
Well, that's good. I mean, you just have to have the other part too. Otherwise, you're overthinking everything in your company. You never take any decision fast enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I recently saw a really powerful slide from someone who invested into Twitter and like a company. And they showed a growth graph of the revenue of Twitter. It was between 10 and 11, 2010, 2011. So the growth path was like this, and suddenly it took off. And the only difference there was the number of tests they conducted per week. So when they were growing slowly, they did half a test a week. So it took them a long time to test different things. And once they aligned all the team, because testing is not about product or marketing, it's bringing all those people together, and they sped it up by a factor 20, so 10 tests a week, then boom, it hit off. So so that's basically also a little bit more into trying things out, but not costly twice, but just trying things out. As you said, put someone into a country, let them try it out, let's see what happens, learn fast enough, and then if you have the right people and the right product, it will hit off sooner or later.
Exactly. Hey, Sami, I realize I'm running out of time here because it's 1:45. I need to get ready for my next meeting. So if we could start rounding up here, that would be good for my time.
I mean, I have a lot of good input, and we basically cut it and make a great podcast out of it. I will send it to you, and I will also give you the video snippets that we create out of it.
Okay, wonderful. That sounds excellent.
And with regards to, as soon as you say you want to scale a little bit in Europe or Germany, you just let me know, because I have contacts who might know some people, and maybe also some tips from our solution could help you find great people in a really cost-efficient way.
Yeah, I already told we have our head of European sales in London, so that person is in charge of everything we do in expansion there, and we are doing very well, so we can see that it's happening. But we sell internationally often because our companies are tech companies often, so we've been able to close deals without always having feet in the street. But we're very eager to expand it in the DACH region, which is such a strong economy, and it will be just stronger. So I really appreciate that, and I will ping you when that day comes. I do have answers to your third question as well, if you
please.
wanted to.
So just to let me phrase the question: what should everyone start doing in B2B sales or marketing?
Well, one thing I wrote is we have done at HackerOne and at previous companies, we used a service like force management. There's an American company called forcemanagement.com. And there are other companies who do that service, but they come in and work through your value proposition and your messaging and your sales strategy. And for so many entrepreneurs, even I originally, you think, oh, I know how to sell. Nobody else can define the value the way I can. But they are so structured. They are so clear on the process steps that when you allow them to come in and run the project, your sales organization will become much more powerful, because suddenly you have everybody talking the same language, knowing when to say what to say to what customers, how to find out what the customer is looking for, how to present cases without sounding arrogant or without all these things get much better when you have this value framework and you agree in the company what the main value is. Like, what are the 2 or 3 or 4 reasons that anybody would buy it from you? And typically entrepreneurs say, oh, I know exactly what it is, but they have many answers. And here, what you do is you narrow it down to the most important ones, and then you start focusing on them in marketing, in product development, and you build strong stories around each value. So I really recommend it to companies who are in a sales expansion phase. When you're really small, you probably can't afford it, and it's sort of too much work. But at some point, you do it and you spend weeks working with them on figuring it out. But then afterwards, you have such a structure for your selling and go to market that I would really, really recommend that to anybody.
So you saw a definite impact from this work.
Absolutely.
After you finished.
Yeah. And the sales reps are more content because they feel they are equipped to win. Like they feel like they have been given a tool that they really can use, and it allows people to share best practices, because we have very clearly defined values and how we win, what's our right to win, what arguments do we have against each competitor, and how do we do this, and then we even use it strategically. We say, let's go to product development and ask for improvement here because we are not strong enough, or we can achieve a new level of strength. Mm-hmm. So I really recommend it to everybody.
Awesome. Could you get me in touch with someone of this company? Because if they are so good at this, I would love to talk to them. Maybe they are a good guest for this podcast.
Oh, that's a good point. I think you can just reach out to them. It is forcemanagement in one word.com.
Anyone particular, or doesn't matter?
I wasn't. Our head of sales was coordinating it, so I wasn't practically doing. There are many people, and they are all good. I think they're headquartered in Boston, but they have good resources on their website. You can read about their method and how they do it, and it's very impressive. But first, like when you are this rebellious startup entrepreneur, like, no, I don't need it. I know everything. Well, you don't, and these people have done it for so long. They can absolutely help you sell faster, better, bigger. So awesome. I would recommend it.
They did a lot of things good when you recommend them.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sami.
Thank you so much.
This was wonderful. Good luck with your business. Thanks to all the audience. I hope everybody will build amazing startup businesses in Germany, in Europe, anywhere in the world. Like, the world needs it.
One last, if you can ask our listeners to one thing that you need or might need from them. Now is the time.
I always hope that people will talk about HackerOne and ethical hackers and realize that the only way to make our digital society safe and secure is to ask for help from ethical hackers. And changing your mindset to think that hackers are people that do good is what I would like everybody to do. There are always criminals, but we call them criminals. Hacker is a positive word. They solve problems. They can help you. And it's actually the only way to make this world, the digital world, trustworthy and safe. The only ones who really get it are the ethical hackers. So if people can do that, share that word, argue it, debate it, contradict it, whatever, I want a debate going. I would be very thankful for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marten.
Thank you, Sami.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.